Booyaka Shell, welcome back to another episode of Can't Handle the Heat. It's your boy G Swizz, joined by Local Joe. Local Joe, how we doing?
I'm doing awesome. How we doing, G Swizz?
Cruising. The man, the myth, the legend. Mike, how we doing, broski?
Good.
Glad to hear it. We're going to start this podcast off a little different for a couple reasons. First of all, you see I'm repping the McKillen It right now, the McKillen It t-shirt. If you want to basically help the boys out, click the link in the bio, get one yourself. Also, shout out to our sponsors right here. I got lemon lime. Well, I put it on backwards. I got lemon lime and I got raspberry. This is my new thing. I tried this out this morning, guys. And electrolyte mix, and I was not feeling it. I had this instead of breakfast. And I don't know if that's nutritionally balanced breakfast or anything, but what I like to do is I like to add raspberry. I'm going to do it for those people listening on Spotify or Apple Music and can't see what I'm doing. I'm taking this raspberry and I'm taking this lemon lime here. And I'm adding this. And I was literally ready to run through a freaking brick wall after this. You take it, you shake it. I have about 3 or 4 of these a day.
3 or 4 of those a day?
I'm not even kidding. These cocktails. And bro, I'm like not even BSing you guys. It's like the perfect blend of the lemon lime of like this the tangy kind of thing. And a little sweetness of the raspberry. Still a little tangy too. So it's like this raspberry limeade kind of thing. And it's freaking delicious. And again, Micah, Joe, how do they get the Dr. Price electrolytes? They want a little discount action. What do they do? What's the promo code, boys?
Out of System 20.
20% off. Click the link in the bio, baby. Also, shout out to Manscaped. I've been getting a few messages on the Out of System on my personal. People are like, hey, man, I just want to say I got that Manscaped action. I got that Lawnmower 4.0. And I'm like, hey, we're not just volleyball brothers, but now we're clean-shaven brothers. So if you want to join that brotherhood, make sure volleyball's all cap, no cap. Go to manscaped.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Joe, the hot topic here, you just had your German Cup. A lot of people, we just posted the vlog about it. A lot of people are wondering how you feeling about it, what your thoughts were, and just kind of a breakdown of the film. So if you want to give a quick recap of the game and your thoughts and your feeling towards it, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, we lost first. So I'll start off with that before we get into, which is it was really brutal because we, for the most, like if you look at just statistics, if you look at the flow of the game, there was like a lot of facets where we were the better team, and that's why it really hurts to lose those matches. It was just like in like the key moments, we didn't convert, we didn't execute. But that's always what a championship is. Like a lot of times, championships aren't played at like the highest level because of the nerves and teams know each other super well. But it's just like whoever can execute in those big moments, and we weren't able to, unfortunately. And so that's what, at the end of the day, like if you look at the film, you look at the statistics, that's what it really came down to. It's like play here, play there. They took advantage of their opportunities. We didn't. It was 3-1 match. We came out at the start of the match, and it looked like we were super like anxious and tentative, and a lot of guys are just trying to do too much. And then once we eased into the match, everything became a little bit more just calm on the court, I would say. Like we were kind of then discussing more so like our game plan rather than like where we were emotionally. Like I felt like the first half of the first set we're talking about like our energy and just how we're like trying to do too much. And then once we kind of got rid of that, then we were talking more about like executing in certain phases of the game. Came out, second set played really well. Third set played well. Again, at the end of the set, we had some huge opportunities multiple times, and we just didn't take advantage of them. And then the fourth set, we're up 17-11 in a fourth set to go to a fifth and lose the set on just a series of errors, which has been kind of our Achilles heel this season, is just direct points through unforced errors. And so those are never good, and that's how you give momentum back to a team. When you're up 17-11, the only way that they're going to come back is if you hand them a couple. And that's what happened. So there's a lot of stuff that just went wrong at the worst times, and we talked between like within our team this week, and that was kind of the message I had, is like there was nothing surprising, just because we had talked of everything that happened was an issue for us throughout the season. And I said, I'm like, in championship matches, if you don't like bite like one of your habits, like one of your bad habits in the butt, like it's going to come out at the worst time. I said, like in the Super Bowl, we all sat and watched the Super Bowl. Eli Apple, that was one of their weaknesses, it was evident at the worst time. of the game, a breakdown in coverage. With us, it was literally our kind of Achilles heels all year, broke down at the worst time. And so that was my message to the team. It's like, if you like, this is just a message for us going forward in this season, for your for the future of your guys' careers. Like, when we talk about stuff in practice and we talk about emphasizing certain things and how we have to get better, and we kind of go through it, like certain guys go through the motions on that part of training, and then we're surprised when it happens in a match. It just, for me, that's why I came out of them. Like, we didn't deserve to win that, because that's something for us that we knew was an issue going from the beginning of the season. We talked about it constantly, and we still like allowed it to happen in the biggest match of the year. And that's why for me it was more frustrating. You know, I just came out of that, like, as a team, I felt like we could have avoided just through how we practice and what we were, our mentality in training. And so that's always the most difficult thing coming out of those matches. Like, there's nothing that surprised us. They didn't do anything crazy. They didn't play like this ridiculous match and play super well and like deserve to win it from that sense, so to speak. But they deserved to win it because they executed in those small details and those moments that they needed to. And at the end of the day, we didn't do that, and it makes it tough. So sorry for rambling on there, but you told me to give a recap, so that's my recap of the match.
No, absolutely. Micah, what, did you want to say something? Because I have two things I had
No, go ahead.
Joe. First things first, Joe, where would you, because first of all, I want to give love to our fans out there who showed Joe love. First of all, a guy traveled from Portugal to come see you. First of all, I couldn't put it in the vlog. Well, I didn't put it in the vlog because it was a longer interview, so I just kind of keep the pacing there. But basically, he got a ticket pretty much, and he didn't even know if the game was happening. So they're just like, "All right, we got to go anyway." Like, pretty much from Portugal to the Netherlands, to Germany.
He's Portuguese and he studies in Netherlands.
He's Portuguese and he studies in Netherlands, and he just sent it anyway. And Netherlands and Germany are bordering each other, but still, that's absolutely insane. Took a train. Anyways, so but a lot of people
Is it Netherlands and Germany, or is Belgium?
they're bordering.
Yeah, they
Netherlands.
are. Okay.
So
France. Sorry, I'm thinking about France.
there you go. But Joe, where a lot of people showed a lot of love in our comment section of the vlog. If you haven't listened to the vlog, go check it out. It's on the YouTube. Would you rank that amongst like one of your worst losses, or is it just kind of a bigger loss of yours?
No, anytime you lose a championship or anything like that, I like what I said to the team also is how it's weird, because usually when you lose a match like that, like, I'm just used to that being like season-ending loss, like you're done and that's the end of the season because it's a championship. For us, it's a weird thing when you have like this cup final where we still have a whole playoff to go, and we have a good draw first round, I would say.
Playoff.
And so we have to prepare. It's a quick turnaround. Literally, we're playing in 2 days here. We're playing our first round of playoffs, and so we had to have a quick turnaround. In terms of like worst loss, I don't know. I think any championship loss is brutal. Still, like the 2019 championship with Hawaii, I think I took the worst. Like, just that was the most defeating. That still to me is in terms of how I felt afterwards. But I hate like losing a championship of any sorts, especially with this opportunity that we had, and the club's never won. Kind of a similar situation that Hawaii was in. But it was just tough. You'd like to be able to execute. I think this match we were in better positions to win the match than we were in 2019. Like 2019, we won the first set, but besides that, I never felt like we were like in control of the match. Like this match, I came out of it like, holy crap, we controlled so much of that match. Even when we maybe weren't ahead, we were down by 1 or 2. I still felt like it was like we had complete control, and it was just like one run away from us kind of like taking over. So that made it even harder. Yeah, it was definitely really difficult. I came out of, I think I texted you guys both. I'm like, we didn't deserve to win that match because of how we didn't execute, and we allowed our Achilles heel to show in the worst moments. And so, that's for me. I just kind of, I wouldn't say accepted it, but just focus on get ready for playoffs now. At this point, there's nothing. That's the thing about like the professional season is like you just got to move on because there's so many big matches. Same thing for Trentino. Literally, they lose the Italian Cup. 3 days later, they're playing a Champions League quarterfinal. It's like you have to be able to bounce back because it's a whole new competition, and there's bigger and better things to get ready for. So, yeah, that's kind of my mentality from coming off that match from the weekend.
That kind of brings up, I guess, what that makes me think of is when I played in France, I kind of realized what makes these higher paid players like worth the money. And what I figured was like, we can play with them. We can play with a lot of these guys if we're on our game, or if a lot of these guys in the league are on their game, then they're equal players or could be better players on any given night. But the players that are making the most, they're consistent, number one. And then like money time, or like when it comes down to execution, they just beat you. And you're like, we were right there with like one of the best teams. It's like 25-23, 25-22, 25-23, you lost 3-0, and you're like, what the heck? Like, we were playing great. We can totally play with them, and then like we didn't take care of 2 balls and we lost 3-0. And I don't know if that stands out to you as well, but it's hard to find, like, even in the NBA, like, now there's such an emphasis on playoff basketball. Like, LeBron kind of, I feel like, started that, where, like, he wasn't in the regular season as concerned with their placement. And he's just like, yeah, when I get to the playoffs, like, he did it a couple times with Toronto when Toronto was the number 1 seed in the East.
Yeah.
And he's just like, yeah, like, this is when it matters, and this is why I get paid a lot. And, like, we're going to execute and just make the 1 or 2 plays when we're tied at 85 apiece. We make the play, and it's game over, and, like, you don't talk about it anymore after that. It's like, we made it to the finals, and you didn't.
Dude, yeah. Like, the one thing, so I would like to say also, like, fortunately, we've been on both sides of that, where, like, we've been at the bottom playing against the top guys, or we've been on the top, and you realize, like, when you're at the top, and some guys are, like, not quite there yet, and they're like, oh, we were just right quite there. You know the feeling of, like, no, you weren't. Like, we had control the entire time, like you said. But you also know the feeling of, oh, I feel we were right there. But in the back of your mind, you're like, maybe we weren't, because if we would have, we wouldn't have been swept 3-0. But, Joe, to your point, and your point, Micah, about, like, taking care of the balls, is one thing that they taught me here in professional is, like, the biggest thing. They're like, we would rather have you be better at the easy balls than the hard balls. Like, 100% sure, and, like, taking care of those. And that's the one thing that the biggest...
Your dad didn't teach you that?
He did, but this is a whole next, like... But now...
But you thought that was only the case at 12 and under, not like in the professional. Okay.
And you don't think about it as much. Now I think about it way more. Like, oh, I have to. Like if I don't get this, like, 100%, you know what I'm saying? Then it's like, I'm screwed. You know what I'm saying? Like that. And there's more easy balls, like balls that maybe don't look that easy have to be, like, perfect or something like that, even though it's, like, you know. But, like, that's, like, the biggest difference for me jumping from college to pro is, like, the perfectionism of the whole kind of thing and, like, all that. And, like, that's and then, like you said, about, like, moving on to the next. I mean, like I said, I don't play with, like, world talents here in Bulgaria here, but, like, seeing, like, the more professional guys is, like, one thing that
Joe, what did you think he just said?
The world.
Yeah, World War talents.
I don't play with a lot of World War veteran over here, but you know what it's time for, guys. Round 2. Dr. Price Electrolyte's gonna fill this bad boy up. Dude, I even get a lack of sleep. But anyway, the biggest lesson to take out of this is basically get yourself some Dr. Price Electrolytes. Fill that bad boy up. It's gonna be one of those episodes where Gage's a little weird here because lack of sleep here. Dude, I got a match tomorrow. What do you mean? Dude. What do you mean? Dude. I am present. I'm dialed into Dr. Price Electrolytes. That's what I'm dialed into. Hey, what do you guys' quick question? On a new subject here. What is your guys' like do you guys have a we talked about game day routines last time, Micah. What about your before, like?
Hey, and I'm trying it this time. I left my house a little bit, like, usually I keep it pretty clean. And I'm purposely leaving some things, like, a little bit dirty so I can clean tomorrow, yeah.
Really? Joe, what we talked about last podcast is pre-match routines. And you weren't there, hater. So we're curious, do you have any pre-match routines or like on the game day or no? I was saying I clean my whole apartment. Do you guys have any like day before? Or like for me, I like to fuel up the day before. Also, I've ate a crap ton of food on the day of the game, and I've tried eating not, and I've realized I'm eating not as much food. before the match is better for me because I feel a little lighter.
Of course.
Is that for everyone? But I don't jump though. Think about it. I gotta stay
No,
grounded.
it's not for everyone. Some people are weird, but like, I don't know. I feel like it's the body's natural instinct to like when you get food, you're gonna start shutting down. Like when it's scientifically proven, I think that when you're hungry, your reaction time and all of that kind of stuff is better, and you're on higher alert, which makes sense. Like evolutionarily speaking, if you were to eat a big meal, it means you caught like, say you're hunting and gathering. Like you caught a big whatever animal, you eat, and then you're like sleeping, and then you have some time to chill. You don't have to hunt immediately. But if you're like hungry, you're freaking like, I need to find something now. Like, anyways, not to go ramble off.
No, that's actually pretty interesting. Is there like any? Where do you learn this information from? You just like look.
I just came up with that
Do you guys how seriously?
because I never ate on game day, and I was like, why is this? And I love like always tracing it back to like in my own head, like evolution and why things are the way they are. And then I had heard like, I don't know where I'd heard that information, and I was like, oh, that's sweet. I thought the same thing, but
How much research?
science to get there?
How much, Joe? This is a question for you too. How much like scientific research do you guys do in terms of performance, in terms of like how do you body, or do you just kind of shoot by feel? Like for example, like for me, it's like, oh, you need to be this, you need to do this. The game day, you're like this, or like you read about, like say you read, oh, you do better hungry, or something like that. Or is a lot of it just kind of feel it out? Because I feel both you guys are more like, I could see you being research based guys, but I can see you being like just shoot by feel kind of guys.
I was gonna say I'm definitely both. I don't know about Joe.
In terms of like research, in terms of what?
In terms of like what Mike said, oh, should I do this, or should I like eat
Oh.
this then, or should I feel like
No, I
this
shoot
then?
by feel for sure on that.
Really?
Definitely shoot by feel.
I definitely like get some information from podcasts.
Like this one?
I'm not researching like on Google as much, but I watch a lot of YouTube. Like,
TikTok.
a lot
Micah
of YouTube.
Micah gets all this information on TikTok.
TikTok, not so much. I'm not on TikTok too often, but YouTube, I'm on that thing every day, and I get so. Today I just watched like, living in the coldest place on Earth. These people are wild, man. Like, you can't have running water because your pipes are just freezing. It's like minus 60 degrees Celsius, like all the time. This day it was like minus 40, and the kid is like has to walk 10 minutes to school. And the wife's like, or the mom's like, I
What
hope
temperature?
he makes it to school. Minus 40 degrees Celsius. And it was a warm day. They're like, oh, today's a nice warm day. It should be okay. Because at minus 55, they don't go to school. And they said that that's kind of a lot. And so, and it, like, she's dressing him. She puts like 10 layers on the kid. And she's like, every parent worries that their kid won't make it to school because they'll just freeze. So he walks 10 minutes and is like breathing super heavily. And the narrator's like, because I believe they're Russian. The narrator is like, if he doesn't make it like soon, he's going to start shutting down. And he like makes it, and she's like, he does this every day. But like they have to get blocks of ice. Every morning they have to melt the block of ice down over a fire that they have to start just to have the water for the day.
How do they start the fire?
Wood?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, think about wood. Like, all right, what do you get?
What?
What do they? Oh no, I'm seriously. That's how you keep the fire. That's what I mean. That's how you. That's the basics of it. But like, do they go like they rub?
No,
or,
in a
like,
house, in a house.
Oh, okay. I don't know why, but my mind immediately just thinks like igloo or something. I don't know
Okay,
why.
so I watched the second video. This is the biggest like random thing on a podcast that we've had, but the second video was these reindeer herders, and those people lived in tents because they actually like follow the
Interesting.
reindeer's migration,
Like to hunt them.
and that was crazy. They definitely kill them and eat them, but it's not as much like hunting because there's like thousands of these things, and they're just following it, and they own some of them. Like two specific families apparently own a lot of them, and then the Soviet Union owns a lot of them as well. But yeah, these guys are in the middle of nowhere, and they're in these like tents. 12 people were in this one tent, 7 people on one side, 5 on the other. It was crazy, man. And these guys are just getting pulled by 5 reindeer on like a sled, and I'm like, what is going on, man? Anyways, I
wild.
watch a lot of YouTube, and a lot of it is randomly about lifting or like diet or just random stuff. I just run into random stuff.
Interesting. I wanted to kind of get down the wormhole of like, is there something that you guys like watch or like, because we have a lot of time on our hands a lot of time. If we're not doing out of system, was like, is there something that you kind of got like into or anything like that, like hobbies or watching wise or anything? Joe.
I watch Netflix, and then also Barstool has done a really good job with. They put together Coach Prime. I don't know if you guys have gotten into that at all, but basically Barstool has a camera crew following around Deion Sanders' coaching career at Jackson State University HBCU program.
That's sick.
And how he's turning that into they're getting like top recruits committing now to their school. If you look at it, it looks like a high-end like high school in terms of like facilities wise, and he's really transforming that program into something really sick, and it's really cool what he's doing just for his community that he feels super passionate about and wants to make a change in. And so I've really enjoyed watching that, and it shows just kind of, dude, he's getting like big time sponsors involved with his team and his players, and he's getting like facilities, like apparel deal, like all these really cool things that these types of schools never have ever experienced before, and really turning it into like a destination. So that's super cool in terms of like what he's doing with that. And Coach Prime, Barstool Sports on YouTube, really easy to access. They followed him last spring, and they did the fall season, doing some really cool stuff up there. But that's what I watched. Which I enjoy though.
You want to hear something, another random?
Yeah, go for it.
So, I was listening to this Lifespan podcast.
What's it about?
It's about aging.
And
And this guy's saying that like we're gonna be living to 150, and it's not impossible, and it's maybe likely that we're gonna become like able to live forever.
How forever? Wait.
Isn't that insane?
Wait, is there any like science or any?
Yeah. This guy is like was at MIT and is now at Harvard and is like the leading researcher in the field of aging.
But what's the quality of life? Like live as a vegetable?
No. So apparently, there's like a biological age and a chronological age. So like I'm 24. I don't know how old you are. Are you 22?
I'm 23.
All right, you're 23. That's like how long you've lived on this earth. But there's also a biological age that like could be a lot higher or a lot lower based on the way you live, your genetics, all that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? So your biological age could be, if you're super unhealthy, it could be like, hey, you're like 35 or you're like 38 biological. So these guys apparently took these supplements and in three doses, and their biological age went down 2 years in 1 year. And so he said, if you were to do this every year, you technically could be immortal. But what the basis of his like everything is made up of a lot of the same things on Earth. And everything is affected differently by time. For example, like a fruit fly, I don't know, and I'm making this up. I don't know exactly what examples he had, but a fruit fly is not going to live very long, maybe a day, right. I think they say. And then you have like a tortoise that lives a really long time. You have these whales that have lived for multiple hundreds of years. And he's even like a tree can live thousands of years. So why is it that time is affecting everything in such different ways when a lot of us, like our genetics aren't that different, technically speaking, than a whale? And so he just breaks that down. And I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, man, you get in this dark black hole. Like, first of all, I'm tripping balls just by listening to what you said right there.
How nuts is that? But it makes sense. Like, time really does have a different effect on every single species.
That's a good point.
And it's just like about figuring out why these other species are aging slower and copying that.
Speaking on time, it can tie into this past weekend, the German Cup, in a way, because I spoke to our team before the match in the concept of like time, and And I like told him like experiences that I've been like in like big matches, like championship type matches, you win and you lose matches way faster than you do in any type of match. I don't know if you guys have ever had that same type of feeling, but the feel like time just feels like in those types of matches, for whatever reason, like I'm go into a bunch of different theories. But, like you lose and you win matches way faster. Like just mentally you come out of that, you're like, damn, that was done in like a blink of an eye. I don't know what the concept is, but you were bringing up the concept like time and how it's different for everybody. But that's what I was like talking about. Like in those matches, why is it different? Why does it feel so different every single time? And everybody I talk to says the same thing. Like I was talking to my coach who played in Trentino, has won all kinds of championships at the international level, played in the Olympics, and he's like, I totally agree. And I was asking him because I was driving him home just why that's the case. But just talking about the concept of time is super interesting because it's all. I always feel like it's like super relative too.
It's because you're present. The more present you are in a situation, I feel, and if you're so zoned in, it's like when time flies when you're having fun. That's the thing. And when you're just having fun, you're so just locked into what you're doing.
Yeah, but if you're so why when you lose does it feel that you like lost it super fast too? Like,
I'm so locked into losing that I'm just.
I think when you're losing, you feel like. Well, not when you're losing, but after you've lost, you're like, dude, like, you feel kind of like helpless in a way. Does that make sense? Like, that just happened so fast. I didn't even get to like. It's not that it's going slowly in the moment for me when I'm losing. It's that afterwards, I'm like, frick, like. That just, I felt like I couldn't slow it down to like regroup ourselves to try and win that game. It just like we lost it at like 12-14 and then it just disappeared and we could never. It's almost like you lose control in a sense, or you have a feeling of like you lost control after it had happened. But during it, the concept of time doesn't really exist during the game.
That's true.
But after the game, it always feels, whether you're winning or losing, feels really fast.
Do you think it goes because we're on a point system as well, rather than a clock system? Do you think it has anything to do with it by any means?
Yeah, because when if you were to do a sauna and you have a clock right in front of you, or like something hard, or like anything with a clock right in front of you, and then you don't, time for me definitely goes by differently. I don't know.
No, you're
guys.
right.
But like when I'm constantly looking at the clock, it usually goes a lot slower than if I forget to look at the clock and then it's like, whoa, the game's over.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I don't know. I haven't played.
For me, it's all about being
played some
present.
sports with the clock.
Because when you're losing, too, you're still present. Unless you're getting just smacked. If you're getting smacked, it's literally a quick game. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're still, like, you're never losing. I mean, I hope you're never losing.
I'm talking about, like, in those moments where you go from, like 17-11. Like,
and then, boom, you're tied.
Boom.
But that was in a minute and a half span, though, Joe. Think about that. Think about, like, that was like a 2 minute. That's 2 minutes.
It's not a 2 minute. That's 5 points is long. I mean, it's a little.
5 points.
17-11.
Well, that's something we can talk about as well. Is that something I learned from watching like experienced people? Is they control the time of the game really well. And I was just talking to Zana about this because on the beach, a lot of like the more veteran players do it, and she's always like, man, and I'm like, no, that I noticed the same thing indoor, and these guys like they understand that if a team's hot for 5 minutes, you control the time. You can like give them 5 points. You can give them 20.
Yeah.
Like if you don't slow it down and you just let them just go back, hurry and serve, keep it on you, and you're just in this like because you're in a state or like you have a player that's in a bad state.
Zen mode.
And then he gets served 3 balls and gets aced 3 times on like floats. And then they capitalize on that and try and get like 5 serves in a minute. And he's never checked out and then the game's over. Instead of like, okay, you get ace once. He goes, he like ties his shoe. He like slowly moves around. The refs are like, hey, come on, let's go, let's play. And then they serve another one. And then we're like, oh, wipe up here, wipe up there. And then it's like, then he's regrouped and you lost 2 points. And I was noticing a lot of players were doing that and controlling the time, like at the
Yeah.
higher levels of their sports in general. There's like Gage says, there's levels to this.
The world
Absolutely.
levels.
Speaking of that, in essence, in a way, in a weird way, the talking about just the CEV's ruling to disallow all Russian competition or Russian teams and Russian clubs from participating in any competitions of theirs. Basically, like, you had several Russian teams, both in Champions League, CEV Cup, who were far into the playoff stage. And
Kazan's probably the best. Like, Kazan is playing really well.
Yeah. Kazan's the
So-
best Russian team. Like, they went a majority of the season without dropping a set. They were
Right.
They were going without dropping a set for a while, and so they were clearly going to win the CEV Cup. I don't think even Tor gets there. I don't think they're going to be
Right.
really
I
challenging
keep forgetting
Kazan.
that they're not in Champions League, which is crazy.
And so the CEV just ruled that they're kind of kicking out all Russian teams in lieu of the conflict in Ukraine. And so that had a really strange effect because it just sent a couple teams straight into the next round, which made it a little bit interesting.
That is very interesting.
Because originally Eric had said that they were just going to pull out, and nobody had ruled on like what the state of the Russian teams were. And so he thought maybe that Zaxa was just going to have to pull out and the Russian teams were to continue to play. And then it completely flipped. All the Russian teams got removed. However, in our league, we have one Russian player. He's a setter for Berlin, the top team in the league at this point. And he's allowed to play. The league's allowing him to play, which is interesting because you would think that the leagues would follow their governing bodies ruling. But in our league, it's not the case. So we thought that was it.
But he's playing for Berlin, to clarify, which is like
correct.
a lot different than these Russian Russian clubs like Kazan or Dynamo Moscow, however you pronounce it. Like, I think that is a huge distinction to make because an individual versus like a club.
One thing is to we have to recognize is the transfer of sort of like just Russia's how people perceive Russia and transferring over from the Soviet Union technically and leaving that behind. You know, they use sport to really influence the rest of the world's perspective of them, like significantly. Like through competitions they hosted, their teams, everything. Like sport's been a huge part of their how they're viewed in the political world, how they're viewed economically, everything. Like they've been dominant in pretty much every single sporting field that they participate in, and it comes like they always get kind of thrown under for whether it's like performance enhancement drugs or the way they train or the style in which their coaches train them. And so, you know, the fact that all of these associations are going and taking this part of their culture away from them is a pretty big deal, especially in Russia. Like, you're taking away major competitions out of their home country and not allowing their athletes to compete. You would think that at some point that's going to have an effect on how the people start viewing what's going on down in Ukraine, the Russian people, so to speak. I don't want to get too much further into that, but I was reading a lot.
Really quick. No, you're right. It's just our opposite's Russian, and we play Ukrainian tomorrow. So I'm like, I wonder if like I don't know. I mean, I don't know if any like things that we set to the net, but it might be. I don't know. But at the same time, like we get his kind of view on the whole Russian thing, which is not. I know that not everyone has, so it's kind of interesting about. I know that he also can't go to see his family as well, so it's kind of crazy. Like he has to like go through Turkey or go through Serbia because all these airports are not allowing. But yeah, we don't want to get too political with things.
I have
another topic on that as well, but go ahead, Joe.
No. You go, and then I have something for the group.
I was gonna say, went to a hockey game, a Polish hockey game, and the other team had apparently some Russians. And I saw the comments made, and this is more of a question as well for you guys, by Westbrook, when people were calling him Westbrick, and that's shaming his name, and that doesn't want his kid to come because they're shaming his name and all, and like that's not okay. The chants that were said towards these Russians were gnarly, and I was just like, there's just
Give us
like
one.
such a different level of PC-ness, I guess, that like the U.S. is just in this weird place, I think, politically and socially. Maybe it's not weird, maybe that's the wrong word, but different, unique, maybe is the better way to say it, than a lot of the rest of the world. And it's sad that, it's not sad, but there's just a lack of understanding of where the rest of the world is at, I think, in the U.S.
Yeah.
We all had it before we came over here. We still have it. We don't understand a lot.
Absolutely.
What would they
But-
say, Micah? Is there anything you can say on this?
No, not a lot that I could say. It was bad. It was bad.
Real bad.
Like, bad enough where, like, I heard it and I knew immediately what they were saying. Because those are the words that you learn first when you come to places like when you go to places like this. You learn those words first. And so I also want to ask you guys about, like, what, I don't know if you guys saw what Westbrook said and what you think about that.
Yeah, that's just the culture. It's frustrating for me, actually, personally, when I see stuff like that, because you're an entertainer. Like, that's what sports is. It's an entertainment industry, and everything, rivalries that are created, the hatred of fans, like, that's
Just
what
passion.
That's what makes
it
sports.
Yeah, totally.
And it's difficult for, like, to see, like, what do you want the fans to do? To sit there quietly and just not say anything? Like, that's
For sure,
You go
for
in,
sure.
you go into an opposing team's arena. You should expect, like, I love that. Like,
Yeah, you should love that. I mean,
Um,
I had one incident, but that wasn't because of that.
Yeah. No, it's, I don't know. For me,
So I don't know if I
I
can
love
speak
it.
on that anymore, but at least I did something about it.
I'm not, like, super empathetic for people unless they're literally going after, like, your race and calling you and, like, slurs, stuff like that. That's the line. But something where they're just heckling your game.
Yeah. That's
that's
like
something
sports. That's life. Like that, you can only shield people from life so much.
You go down to the local park, like, if you're shooting bricks, dude, they're gonna say you way worse stuff to you than freaking Westbrook. Like,
Yeah,
it's pretty
for
ridiculous
sure.
that he's complaining about that. I saw
That-
the complaints.
To me, that is also ridiculous, and I feel like I really didn't enjoy playing in LA because there was a lack of, like, passion and fans and, like, real emotion. It was just like in the middle of LA, it just was PC and, like, oh, like, clap and look this way and do this way and be perfect and don't make any mistakes, and the crowd is gonna golf clap, and, like, that's it. And then when I went to France, I was like a breath of fresh air. I don't know about what you guys felt coming back overseas, because you guys came from Hawaii, which was actually, like, you had a great home gym, but for me, it was like night and day, and I was like, wow, this is so nice to see, like, people being passionate and human and emotional, and, like, there's so much more fun to this game than just, like, being PC about everything.
100%. I agree. I mean, Hawaii was the best experience from a fan base wise. I haven't had anything better. Even here in Germany, like, we have some passionate fans, but it's not like to that extent, so to speak. Like, they're so in Hawaii, they understood everything that was going on with the team. They know everything about the players. They understand the rivalries between other teams coming in, like that. All that was understood. Here in Germany, I would say it's a much more like PC. Like, you bring your family and you just kind of clap and you're excited for good volleyball. So it's not like that. I don't know. I love that kind of rivalry aspect of things where teams come in, they hate to come into your gym. Like, I love that.
Totally.
aspect.
This hockey game, the other fans weren't allowed because there would be too many fights.
Yeah, I love
Because I was
that.
in there,
Dude,
and I was like, "Where's the other fans?" And my Polish friend's like, "Oh, like, this specific team, they can't come to the games. Like, when we go
Dude.
there, we can't go, and when they come, they can't come."
the hooligans in the English Premier League, dude, that is some crazy stuff, man. There's a lot of documentaries and stuff done. Like, there's people killed over soccer games there.
Dude, the hooligans here, where we play, is in, like, I don't know why, but it's in the middle of, like, the rival football club's, like, neighborhood. And so there was police when we made the promotion to Plus Liga. There was police at every single game. Military. Our libero got jumped. Our middle got his stuff stolen when waiting at the bus stop because he had like the logo. And the first thing they told us when he came was, do not wear your like gear that you get from this team. Don't wear any of it outside of the gym, because there's like actually, and my libero was literally on the ground getting kicked.
Jesus.
Gnarly.
Crazy, yeah.
And the hooligans everywhere are crazy, but there's some stories about these guys that are wild as well.
Yeah. Hey, I got a series of they're like personality questions, but I think they help answer. I like how it fits into this conversation today. Like 3 of them that I'm gonna ask everybody to answer, and then we wrap it up, Gage, if that works.
Yeah.
For you, I want to quickly shout out because I'll forget any clubs, high schools, programs that want us to come this summer to your facility. Email joe@outasystem.net. We're filling up the calendar. It's filling up fast. We have a couple open dates left, so you make sure you get in quick. Reach out to us. There's going to be a lot of updates coming up about that over the next month or two, so make sure you email me if you want us to come to a place near you. All right. Really quickly, I want to go through 3 different questions for you guys before we wrap it up. We'll start at the top here. What steps do you take to remain calm under pressure in volleyball? Let's use that.
I can say one really quick thing.
Okay.
One really quick thing for me in serve receive is like, let's say you get into a rut, you've just been in a rut about serve receive, is also just like remembering, like I always repeat this in my head. Hey, you just got to see it go in once. Like a shooters has to see the ball, like they're going through a rut and they just see one go in, and it's kind of like that, and just kind of remembering what that feels like right before I serve receive. So like, okay, what am I usually? And I'm not like one of the people who hold my platform there and I go, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, just kind of the feeling, like, because we're all shoot by feel kind of guys, and that's the most important thing for me. Helps relax my body, helps relax my mind, and I know, okay, maybe that perfect, I get a perfect pass the next time, but I just feel better. I always like to go, okay, maybe not the results good, but how do I feel about like that? Because I know in the long run it'll be better for me. That's how I think about it.
I asked Joe, like, I think earlier this season, how you go through ruts, and Joe gave me the advice that he just imagines that, Gage, you are hitting on the left. Is that right,
Mm-hmm.
Joe?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, for some reason, whenever like setting my brother, because it's something I've done since I was located, it's like super natural. Like when I don't have to think about setting Gage at all. And it's similar like this year with Jordan. It's a really similar feeling because I played with him since I was 14. But
Yeah.
that's also a reason, like when I was saying getting into coaching, I don't understand why college coaches don't recruit guys who played together their whole life. Like the connection aspect, a lot of people in the Bundesliga just talk about like Jordan and mine's connection, just in the big attack, like everything in general. But yeah, like you said, you go through ruts, like imagining just setting like Gage or something, because it's just super natural for me. I don't have to think about it. With every other person like that I'm playing like first year, I have to think about the ball has to be slightly higher. I'm like, when I just play the ball like, and I'm like that, that's when I play at my best.
So I copied Joe, and I started imagining that my dad was my coach. Like that my coach overseas was my dad. And that worked for a little bit. But I think what also is interesting about all 3 of us, it's not about pressure. It's when we are in a rut. And it's not necessarily like going hand in hand. Because I think when there's pressured situations, that is not really like, usually I'm pretty focused and doing, like, for the most part, luckily, I'm doing pretty well. But it's just when I'm not doing good in general. How do I get through that? Because it's not always pressure doesn't always mean I'm doing bad or good. But when I'm not doing well, I started doing this thing where I would like use my towel a lot. And I would take a breath into my towel. And no matter like what's going on around me, I would take those 3 slow breaths at my own pace, at my own speed. And it's so uncomfortable because like I know people might be looking, or like the ref is like, hurry up, but I take it at my own speed, and then I get out of here. I'm like, I play on my own, like I'll just play on my own time, like, and it takes away like the pressure of everyone else, what they think or what might be going on outside of me, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna breathe on my own time, and you guys just, I don't know, it's helped me. I move around a lot. I'll find something that
45
works, and then it
seconds.
works, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't work anymore.
Exactly.
And I'm like, all right, I gotta find something new.
Exactly. I think that's super important because I'm the same way. Like I don't do the same thing all the time, and so yeah, I totally am like in kind of the same boat. I just imagine myself in a place where like I had success, like a position. Even like how funny it is, like even like a grass volleyball tournament from the summer at one point. Like I'll imagine like just because the feeling that I think we always talk about like on when we play together, like the synergy and the connection that we have, it's just like so just like I feel there's just a constant like flow always, especially in like the big moments. Like there's never any kind of like thinking about having to do stuff. And so for me, it's about getting in that mindset more so. Because it's been difficult for me to have that same feeling playing like the past couple of years like professionally, because it's just like new hitters all the time. It's just like not the same type of connection that you have, and so it's just way more difficult. But it's just like different. So you have to figure out other ways to get back into the match. So, great answers by everybody. We'll go one more here because I don't want to take too much of people's times. How did you turn your greatest failure into a learning experience?
I don't
think
have
my greatest failure
Crickets.
Yeah, go Gage.
Two
'cause-
things. So
What
my
is
greatest
your
failure
greatest
can be,
failure?
So that's where I'm at a quandary right now. My greatest
Yeah, I'm
failure
in the
is
same
definitely
way.
is losing 2019 championship. By far my greatest failure.
In your life, that's
Event-wise?
your greatest failure.
I'm gonna speak volleyball wise. I don't really, in terms of
I
failures,
think,
like
okay. I think
my
you
pers-
could. I think the person like the volleyball.
Joe's like,
I
I think
think-
you had a lot of failures that you're forgetting about. No.
I think volleyball. I mean, I'm not gonna get personal. I mean, because my biggest failure is letting down my parents. Like there have been certain times where I let down my parents, and like,
I would say
it's like
that.
seeing your
I would say
mom.
that is a little higher up than like a volleyball match is just a game at the end
Joe,
of the day.
what do you mean
And-
by big? But I think of like sports wise though, because sports wise, believe it or not,
Okay.
like for me, I don't know about you guys. It's like, I mean, I'm not gonna get my parents into this right now, but for me, sports wise, is like if my sports isn't going right, and this is maybe something I need to change. I don't know. Then the rest of my life is not going well. like that's usually how it goes for me. And I'm kind of at a pot. And I would say that my greatest failure is like I'm doing like well this year, but like I'm not. I still haven't felt my groove. So in my mind, I'm like I might be in. It's not an event wise, but it's kind of like one of those things where I'm still kind of working it out. And one thing that I do is like I'm learning from it, and I think the worst thing you can do is compare yourself to others, and no matter what the situation is. And that's what I find myself. I'm just like, now you find yourself, okay, you're not in college, you're in a world stage now. And now you're technically you're on like the same, maybe like not actually, but like, okay, we're all in this together now. Like technically they could go get another Eric Shoji or they can get Grebennikov, you know what I'm saying? And you're like comparing yourself to those guys or even guys your age or whatnot. And it's like never compare. Like that's the worst thing you can do because everyone's story is different. For me, that's what I learned.
That's a really, 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 really good one. I don't necessarily know what my greatest.
I can go,
failure
Micah,
is.
if you want to. Think
Yeah,
some
please
more.
do. Yeah, go.
I would say mine, because to pick out a singular match, I don't think is right. Because I've talked about this several times. If I base everything, like my validity of my career and everything I worked for on like one result, I think that is doing it like disservice. And like I don't think you'll ever be satisfied because you're gonna win and lose like big matches your entire sporting career. So if everything's based on if that's your biggest failure is failing, you have like certain goals and you want to accomplish like season to season, and obviously losing is a failure, but I would never say it's like my biggest failure because I think that just kind of like I said, does all the work going up to that and the preparation disservice in a way. It's like you put in the same amount of work that you did when you did succeed. And so why, like, as long as you learn from that, I think it's important. But biggest failure, sorry, back to this topic.
No, that was a good point. I agree with that as well. I think that's really cool way to look at it.
Yeah. I would say that biggest failure was that I did allow like other people's decisions at the beginning of my university career, my transition into college. I allow other people's decisions and I allow other people's opinions to affect my like daily mood as well as my outlook on like the future of my career and everything. And once I did finally overcome that and realize kind of have the viewpoint that I have now, I'm way better off in terms of like where I'm at like in my career and how I'm continuing to progress, just with all of my with stuff like in my control, so to speak. And what I mean by that is like going into like especially freshman like first 4 or 5 months, even my college decision, like I was so set on going to UCLA. I said this over and over. I was so set on going to UCLA. Situation just wasn't best for me in terms of like where I want to go with my career and what made me happy. And you know, I ended up going to Hawaii, and I allowed that like kind of that whole decision affect my first 4 to 5 months. Also then not playing the first year, not playing the second year, like I allowed all that stuff to really affect like me mentally and my motivation at times and how I viewed like where I wanted my career to go. And then once I did have the opportunity, I did take like advantage of that, I felt, for the most part, short of a few goals that I wanted to accomplish in my collegiate career. And then I was like back at square one again when I got into my professional scene. And so then building up from there, it's like for me, I feel like I've always kind of had to overcome some sort of obstacles or like adversity, and multiple ones like over and over. So like my first one that I didn't handle so well, I felt like when I got now into the professional scene, I had to do it again. Like I was way better prepared and I had a way better outlook over how to handle that. And I was had the ability to make some changes like mentally, so I handled it better and put myself in a position now where I feel like I'm still like, now that I'm playing and I'm on the court, I'm continuing to progress as a professional athlete. And no matter what other coaches say in, like from other leagues, or no matter what the USA Volleyball like national team pipeline says, like I feel that I'm still like progressing and happy with where my career is going, because I know that I'm doing like what I can, and putting like my team in a position to win is to the best of my abilities. And that's kind of like all that I can control, especially with my like stature and everything. Like that's always been a thing, even at the professional level. My agent tells me the same thing, like concerned about height wise. It's like, okay, how do if I just sit here and allow that comment and that be the narrative of my career, then I'll just always be pissed off and always be upset with myself. And so for me, I've learned after that first time, like I cannot allow that stuff to affect me in any way. And I really haven't. And so I think that has helped me over my career, especially in the recent time of the past couple of years.
How though? Like, I feel like everyone has dealt with that at times, or not at times, a lot, especially in the times we're living in right now. Everyone deals with like, worrying about what people think about you, and taking people's opinions about you like to heart and letting that affect the way that you look at yourself. And people know that it's not good and still can't not do it. So how were you able, like, what did it happen really fast when they were just like, I'm over it? Or did it happen slowly? Or were there some realizations you had?
Slowly, for sure. I would say over the past year and a half, more so, because in my head, like people are asking me like, the thing is I get questions all the time from family members, friends, people who fall out of system, like teammates. What's your involvement with the national team? What's your plan for next year? Everybody's always looking forward to the future. And all of that has to do with the opinion of other people. Like for me, none of that stuff is in my control, so to speak. Like if a coach offers me a certain contract, or if the national team wants to bring me in for this tournament, all that stuff in a way is not really in my control. Like if they just are not interested in a player of my stature or whatever, like I can always just control what I control, whether that's in training, me being like an aggressive kind of minded setter, which I've always been. Like that's always my mentality. I never want to have regrets for not like taking the risk, taking the chance. Like I'm always that super physical, especially for my stature, I feel like. And so I always want to make sure that that's the narrative, because and sometimes it is kind of the Achilles heel of me, like taking too much risk at times. But I just see too many times it pays off, with me being kind of like the aggressor, so to speak. And I love playing with guys who have that same sort of mentality. And it's hard for me not to play with guys who don't have the mentality. And so with that mindset and everything, it's just like I really have developed like an FU mentality kind of in my head in a way.
Hell
I don't
yeah.
know. Like for me, it's like, all right, you don't want me. It's like I'll make sure that I continue to excel in areas that I can control and things that I can do. Whether it's like that same area of life or it's like other forms. It's like for me, no matter what happens, like on the ball, I put everything. When I'm in practice, I put everything into that. When I'm on the court, I put everything into that. And then that speaks for itself. And then when I'm off the court, everything's kind of dialed into the out of system. It's like, okay, if the stuff isn't going, I use that to really transfer my motivation into other aspects of my life as well.
Yeah.
Because I always feel like we say this together, like us three, that no matter what we're involved with, we know that we're going to succeed, because that's just the mentality and the type of people that we are. Like, no matter what, like people, if we want something to work, we'll make it happen no matter what. And that's kind of the mentality and what makes the out of system team super cool, because no matter what we talk about something happening, we'll go make it happen. And that's the cool thing I think about.
I think that's
us,
more.
and also our friendship.
I think you're the leader at that. I don't
Yeah.
know. I won't speak for Gage, but if Joe wants something to happen, he'll make it happen. If I want something to happen,
Hey.
chances are it might not happen. And if Gage wants something to happen, it probably won't happen.
I'll follow y'all. I'll follow my brother to the depths of hell, kind of thing. You know what? If Joe
And I
says
think
we're
that's
doing
like,
this,
I have a lot of respect and admiration for Joe because of that. Like, he has a strong personality and he doesn't like falter. And yeah,
I'm stubborn. I get that from my dad. It's been an issue with teammates, friendships, and not an issue, but it's been like that's what causes friction.
Brotherships.
Family, relationships, brotherships. It's always
Females.
like yeah, exactly.
Is that what you were gonna say?
No, I said relationships, like
Oh, that's right.
previous
That's right.
relations.
chicks.
And so
But this, I don't know if I've told you that. I'm saying it on air, which is dope. But like, that's something I have a lot of admiration for you, like in particular.
That I'm stubborn
really,
as hell?
Really sick. No, stubborn is not the word I would say, but like,
Stand by your beliefs.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you know what you like or what you love and what you agree with and what you stand by, and then you just stand by it, and it's pretty easy for you to do that.
Dude.
I definitely get that from my dad. My mom is the type of person, like, if I could convince her or something, my dad's like, no. Like, dude, my dad, as much as I've butted heads with my dad, he's always...
Reasonable. I think the word's reasonable, Joe.
No. With
My mom's
Gage,
more reasonable.
Gage's relationship with our parents is completely different. My relationship with my dad, my dad is way better. And he, like, can have a conversation with me, and every single
Hey.
time... In a big moment, like where I have to make a decision, every time he's told me it's always been the right decision. And there's a lot of things, you know, that sometimes I don't agree with, but it's like for the big decisions, he's always has a good understanding of what's best, and he's always been right in terms of how I make those decisions. And so I've always been super appreciative of that. I get a lot of the stubbornness for sure is all from my dad, like all that side of it. But there's a lot I don't take from my dad too, so it's a balance. I take only the good stuff from my mom.
Yeah.
You're just so perfect, aren't you, Joe?
Gage's relationship with our parents is...
Joe, you make it sound like I have a terrible relationship with our parents.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you, Joe, you do make it sound like that, and that's not what it is.
Jesus.
It's just very different.
It's
Joe,
not-
in
it's
their
not
eyes, is now
terrible.
an adult, and Gage,
not-
in their eyes, is still 10 years old.
It's not terrible.
Yep, bingo.
It's just
There you go.
Gage cannot not admit that it's been bumpy over the past 5 years.
Yeah, but not like a I'm gonna run away
Joe.
from home kind of bumpy.
Joe,
I'm just more
it's ju-
rebellious.
yeah,
It's more. It's,
I know.
Here's
You're
what
like
happened. Here's
Joe
what happened.
is
Here's what
Joe
happened.
is like a colleague to them at this point. Gage is not a like.
The thing
they
is,
don't see
Gage-
eye to eye with Gage. They're not like peers. They're not
Gage
like,
is
okay, Gage, you're an
disappointed.
adult now. We trust your decisions. That is not. the
Gage
way-
it's because Gage has disappointed them more.
Yeah,
In
I
a way.
agree.
Jesus Christ.
I'm
Yeah,
just being
for-
honest.
All right,
No,
I
for
wanna
sure.
say out there
For sure,
that
but that's-
it's not. I don't have
so-
a terrible relationship with my family at all.
You
Like,
don't.
I call
I'm-
them. We call every day.
Gage is the
Everything.
disappointing child.
Gage, you have to say your
I'm
relationship
disappointed by-
right now is better than it was your entire like college career. You have to say like you right.
Entire college.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a
I
few
would say
bumpy.
so.
Just my senior year, there was some bumpy stuff for sure.
Even-
I'll admit that.
No. Even like the trust level, like and everything, and like how
Yeah.
your communication. That you wouldn't. They'd be
This-
calling me because like you just
Now it's vice versa. Now it's vice
exactly.
versa. Now
That's what I'm saying.
100%.
I'm saying
100%.
your relationship right now.
What- here's-
everything I'm saying
here's-
is completely true. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
I'm not saying it's
The
a
way you're
horrible-
saying it though, you're making me sound like a terrible, terrible son.
No,
but
I
also, all right,
I'm
really quick. This is what happened. This is why, Joe. It's because Joe, when he growing up, Joe was not like, rebellious. He was like very to himself. He didn't do anything. He never went out of the house or anything. Kind of like me, but I did more stuff. There's some famous stories I have. I didn't party or anything like that. I go out like that, but I bought a bunch of illegal fireworks. And I run from the cops all the time because of that. Along with, I got in trouble with girls and their families.
It's because
sometimes
Joe,
and stuff like that.
Joe,
So it's like,
that's the thing. But don't get it twisted. Joe's always the mastermind behind it.
Yes.
It's just he's not the one doing the
I-
labor. He's not the one
I-
picking up stuff and putting it down, and then we get caught picking stuff up, and Joe's nowhere to be found, and we're like, "What the heck? He told us to do this."
I definitely will say I like create it, and I'm very with Gage. I know how to manipulate him. With Gage,
not
in a
anymore.
way-
Not anymore. When I was younger. You're telling me now you're manipulating me, Joe? Are you,
I don't know.
are you
I'm not
literally
saying-
manipulating me.
I think
everyone?
he is, but he doesn't want to play his. Like, he doesn't want to show you that he's still doing
Dude,
it,
I
so
would
that
notice.
he can keep
There's
doing
definitely
it.
stuff that I would notice.
No, Gage, he is still. From a
How? In what way?
From a like outside perspective, your brother still manipulates you all the time. All the time.
Not in like a big way. I think the big way maybe, but not maybe in small ways.
I don't put
Like, for
Gage
example,
in
I'm gonna go, like,
positions
what-
like to get in trouble so much. I just like
Yeah, you just make him do your stuff that you don't want to do.
more so.
Yeah, it used to be in trouble
There's a
kind of
balance.
things, but it's
it's a balance. It's just like any teammate. There's balance. You got to give and take.
What are you doing? To
Yeah,
show
but you're
me,
less
bro?
like that now because now
Give
you're
and
like,
take.
ooh, Gage is valuable to out system. Maybe I can't do that as much. Maybe I gotta lean back a
No.
little more. I think so,
Whatever, bro.
dude. Whatever, man.
You just keep living in that world of yours, Gage.
Whatever, man.
Gage is like, Joe doesn't manipulate me. I'm like, Gage, you grab me some water. Okay, I'll be.
Yeah. Dude, Gage, how could you say that? Oh man,
Give me an example.
you're
Give me an
so
example.
far. You're so far behind him. You gotta catch up, bro.
Give me an example.
The whole summer.
Micah, I don't manipulate him, bro. I don't manipulate him at all,
Yeah,
bro.
that's true.
No. Let's hear it. Prove me wrong here. Let's prove me wrong.
Gage, we're running short. We're running
It's
short
true.
on time.
We
here.
are
No,
running
we're
short
not.
on
We got
time.
plenty of damn time. This is our
Joe's-
freaking podcast.
I got to bounce.
Yeah.
All right, give me one thing then. Give me one thing.
No, I can't think of any. I think you're right.
Shut up, Micah.
I think you're right.
Shut your mouth. Because I know you like to push my buttons too on the trip as well. Because I know me and Micah butt heads the most on the trip. In a friendly way, not like in a bad way.
Yeah, no.
No, let me hear it. Come on, Haribo, Micah. What happened?
I have no idea. I think you're right.
Come on,
you're
Ricky
it.
Bobby. Come out.
I think you're onto his games now. And I think you
Now you shut up. I know you're freaking messing with me right now. Shut up. You guys can't even give me an example.
Yeah, you're
I'm gonna
right.
get high alert from here on out.
It's because we're wrong, bro. And you're right.
You know how? I'm gonna see. Here's the thing: you can make me double think myself or second guess myself by just keep saying that, like, "Oh yeah, Gage. Oh yeah." And if I know for a fact, I'm gonna be like, "No, I want to do this." All right, you know why? Because I'm gonna high alert with Dr. Price electrolytes out of 20% off. I got a bunch right here. By the end of this, by the time Faye leaves, I'm gonna be downing this entire thing. I got game day tomorrow, so I'm gonna be drinking a crap ton of electrolytes. Shout out to our sponsor at Manscaped. And again, next week is our 75th episode, guys. Isn't that crazy? 75 episodes together. Look at us go, man. And for that 75th episode, we are going to be doing a question Q&A for the entire time. We'll put it on our story. We'll post about it. It'll be, I'm thinking probably have to comment on a story so we can save it in our archive. Archive, yeah? Is it archive or archive?
Archive.
Okay.
Chives.
Archivy. It's in our archive. And
It's French. It's French.
Oh, just remember, if you can't handle the heat, goddamn kitchen. This has been another episode presented by